Uh, Respected chairpersons, at the outset, I like to thank Dr. Gautam for inviting me to deliver this talk on very interesting subject of urinary SCG versus recombinant SCG for ovulation trigger. We all know that LS surge is essential for conception. Why it is essential? It leads to final maturation. It triggers the follicular rupture, exudes oocyte, promotes luteinization, and forms active corpus luteum. So that is the function of LH surge in normal cycle. Now when we compare urinary SCG and endogenous LH, they are having structural similarities, which was very nicely demonstrated in 1981, and it stimulates same receptors. So that is the basic similarity between the urinary SCG and endogenous LH, and that is why urinary SCG being used for several years, more than 25 years, as a surrogate for endogenous LH, especially in stimulated cycle in ART. Now, do we require only LS surge or a dual surge? That is again highlighted in this recent paper of 2010. And they have demonstrated that dual surge is advantageous and mimics natural mid-cycle surge of gonadotropin. So if there is an increase in the FSH the day of trigger, then it may be advantageous to have more number of M2 sites, and there may be an effect on clinical outcome. Now, when we compare the urinary SCG and recombinant SCG, basically urinary SCG, they are glycoproteins containing 244 amino acids having alpha and beta subunit identical to LH, and both of these are having structural similarities. This is the molecular structure of urinary SCG, and when you see, it is more complicated when we compare it with recombinant SCG. Now, we have been using urinary SCG for ovulation trigger for very long period, but it has got some disadvantage, like they are procured usually from urinary source, so they are uncontrolled sources, and that's why they are having lack of purity. There are a lot of batch to batch variation, and that's why there is variable clinical outcome as far as the various studies suggest. On the other hand, recombinant SCG are derived from genetically engineered Chinese hamster ovary cell produced by recombinant DNA technology. They are repeatedly purified by chromatographic steps, so thus providing high specific activity, and that's why they become suitable for subcutaneous injection. And that is one of the important factor when we see the compliance of recombinant SCG versus urinary SCG. When you look at the pharmacokinetics of urinary SCG, the half-life of urinary SCG is around 33.55 hours, and the maximum concentration is reached in 20 or 21 hours. On the other hand, if you see the pharmacokinetics of recombinant SCG, the half-life is little shorter, it is 29 hours, and the maximum concentration reaches in 24 hours. So that is the basic difference between the urinary SCG and recombinant SCG. Now, when we talk of comparison on the clinical basis, there are a lot of problems in comparing effect of two molecules. If you see that what is relevant, whether it is number of oocytes retrieved or clinical pregnancy ongoing pregnancy, miscarriage rate, because these are the factors which will decide which molecule you should use. OHSS rate, tolerability, progesterone level. Some of the studies have compared the progesterone level, and then cost effectiveness, which becomes very important when we use the gonadotropins. Most of the studies have focused on few of these or all of these criteria, but as far as as a clinician, what is relevant is clinical pregnancy rate, OHSS rate, tolerability, and cost effectiveness. So these are the 4 points where we had to decide that urinary SCG should be used for trigger or recombinant SCG. This is a paper of Human Reproduction 2000, which have compared urinary SCG and recombinant SCG, and they found that the recombinant SCG is associated with more mature oocytes. They also studied the progesterone level on day 1, 6, and 7 of trigger, and they found that there was higher progesterone level in recombinant group. However, there was no significant difference in fertilization rate, pregnancy rate, and OHSS rate. So this study concluded that recombinant SCG is as effective as urinary SCG, with added advantage of higher progesterone level and higher acceptability, because it can be given subcutaneously. Now this is the data of mean progesterone level on day 1, day 6, and day 7. And if you can see, this is the progesterone level. You can see that it was higher on day 1, day 6, and day 7. So when you see the clinical pregnancy rate, recombinant SCG produced a little higher pregnancy rate, but there was no statistically significant difference. So in conclusion, they said that this study indicates that recombinant SCG is effective in inducing follicular maturation. It is associated with more mature oocyte, higher progesterone concentration, and thus likely to have a added advantage of tolerance and acceptability. This is another paper by International Recombinant SCG group, and they compared urinary SCG with the recombinant SCG, 198 patients of 20 to 38 years group, and they concluded that recombinant SCG and urinary SCG, they are equivalent efficacy in ovulation induction. However, recombinant SCG is better tolerated. So as far as the tolerability is concerned, most of the studies have said that recombinant SCG is better tolerated. However, there is no difference whatsoever in clinical pregnancy rate as well as fertilization rate.